The jungle was alive with strange sounds. Captain Marcus moved carefully, his boots sinking into the soft ground. Tall trees stretched high above him, their branches weaving together like a dark ceiling. Strange glowing insects drifted in the air, casting faint green light. It felt like the whole forest was watching him. He had traveled far from his ship, deeper than any human had gone on this alien world. His mission was simple: explore, map the area, collect samples, but the deeper he went, the more he felt something was wrong. The silence between the sounds was heavy, as if eyes followed him from the shadows. Then he saw movement. A figure darted between the trees, too fast for him to catch clearly. He froze, gripping the small pulse rifle in his hand. His breath slowed, his heart pounding in his chest. Through the vines and leaves, he saw her. At first, she looked like a savage. Her hair was long, dark, and tangled, her body covered in rough clothing made from leaves, animal skins, and bones. She crouched low on a branch, her eyes glowing faintly in the green light. She did not move like an animal, yet there was a wildness about her. Marcus whispered to himself, a savage, living out here alone. But the longer he looked, the less sure he was. Her eyes did not show madness or weakness. They showed fire, intelligence, and something more, pain. The woman tilted her head, studying him. She did not seem afraid. In fact, she looked like a predator deciding if he was worth hunting. Marcus lifted his rifle slightly, but his hands trembled. He had faced alien beasts before, but this was different. This was no beast. She was something else. A soft growl came from the shadows. Marcus spun around, aiming into the dark, but when he turned back, the woman was gone. She had vanished into the trees without a sound. Marcus took a slow breath. His instincts told him to turn back, to return to the safety of his ship, but his curiosity pushed him forward. Who was she? Why was she here? He stepped carefully through the vines, deeper into the jungle. More strange signs appeared. Bones hanging from trees, sharpened sticks pressed into the ground, traps made with vines. He realized they were not random. Someone had built them. Someone smart, someone protecting territory. Again he saw her, this time on the ground. She stood tall, holding a long spear carved from some alien wood. Her muscles were strong, her stance balanced. She was not a lost savage. She was a warrior. Marcus called out, his voice steady but unsure. I don't want to hurt you. The woman narrowed her eyes, but said nothing. Her grip on the spear tightened. She looked ready to strike. For a long moment, they stood in silence. The jungle seemed to wait with them. No wind, no sound, only two figures staring at each other. Then, like a shadow, she moved. In a flash, she leapt into the trees, climbing higher with impossible speed. Marcus stumbled forward, trying to follow, but she was gone again. The branches shook above him. He looked up, but saw nothing. His breath grew heavy, sweat rolling down his face. He knew she was still there, watching him, judging him. He could feel her presence, even if he could not see her. Marcus whispered, she's not just a savage. She's something more. A sound echoed in the distance, like a horn, deep and chilling. The woman's head turned sharply toward the sound. For the first time, Marcus saw fear cross her face. She vanished into the shadows again, leaving him alone. Marcus stood still, the jungle closing around him. The strange horn echoed again, louder this time. He realized he was not only being watched by her, but by something else, something hunting both of them. The first encounter was over, but the true danger had only begun. The jungle seemed to close tighter around Captain Marcus as he moved forward. The strange horn sound still echoed in the distance, fading and rising like a warning. He felt the hair on his neck stand up. He was not alone, not anymore. Branches snapped above him. He looked up, catching a glimpse of movement. She was there again, the wild woman, the so-called savage. She darted from branch to branch with impossible speed. Her eyes flashed as she glanced down at him, testing him, watching every step he took. Marcus tried to follow her path, stepping carefully through the thick vines. His boots sank deeper into mud. His breath grew heavy. He felt the weight of the forest pressing on him. Every sound seemed louder, every shadow deeper. The trees creaked, and strange creatures hissed in the distance. He tried to move faster, but the ground betrayed him. He stumbled, almost falling into a pit hidden under leaves. At the last moment, he caught the edge. Pulling himself back, looking down, he saw sharpened stakes pointing upward, a trap, deadly and cruel. His chest tightened. If he had fallen, he would have been torn apart. Marcus looked up quickly, and there she was, standing on a branch above, her eyes locked on his, her expression unreadable. Was it satisfaction? Was it disappointment? Did she want him to die, or was she testing if he could survive? She leapt away before he could call out, her figure disappearing into the thick canopy. Marcus clenched his fists, anger and curiosity burning inside him. Who was she? Why was she leading him through danger instead of finishing him herself? The horns sounded again, closer now. Marcus turned, the jungle vibrating with a deep call. Birds burst from the trees. Creatures fled into the undergrowth. Something was coming, something big. Marcus pushed forward, following the trail she left. Broken branches, disturbed leaves, faint footprints in the soft mud. He moved faster, his pulse rifle ready. His heart pounded like a drum. Suddenly, a net whipped out from the side. Catching his arm, he pulled back quickly. Tearing free, his sleeve shredded, he spun around, realizing another trap had been triggered. This was no accident. Someone wanted him to be caught. A whisper came from the trees above, low and sharp. Marcus looked up, and for a second he saw her lips move. She had spoken, but he could not understand the words. Then she was gone again, vanishing into the shadows. He pushed himself harder, running now. The jungle floor was uneven, roots twisting like snakes. His body ached, but he could not stop. He could feel the danger pressing closer. The horn sounded again, almost on top of him. Then, through the mist and leaves, he saw her again, standing in a clearing. Her spear pointed toward him, her body tense, her eyes fierce. Marcus slowed, raising his weapon slightly. His breath came in short bursts. "Why are you doing this?" he shouted. "Who are you?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped back slowly. Then in a single powerful movement, she spun and hurled her spear past his head. Marcus froze, his heart jumped. He thought she had tried to kill him. But then he heard the scream behind him. He turned to see a massive creature, dark-scaled and covered in bone-like armor, fall with the spear buried deep in its chest. Its claws twitched as it collapsed, shaking the ground. Marcus's eyes widened. She had saved him. The woman jumped down from the tree with fluid grace. She walked past him, pulled her spear from the beast, and looked at him with cold eyes. Her lips moved again, this time clearer. "Follow, or die," she said, her voice rough but strong. Without waiting, she disappeared into the jungle again. Marcus stood frozen for a moment, his chest heavy. He realized something important. She was not hunting him. She was guiding him, maybe even protecting him, but why? With no choice, Marcus followed, each step pulling him deeper into the unknown, deeper into her world, deeper into the truth he had yet to understand. The chase was not over. It had only just begun. Marcus followed her deeper into the jungle. His body was tired, his legs heavy, but he could not stop. The woman moved with the speed of shadow, climbing, leaping, running, always a step ahead. She never looked back to check if he was coming. But Marcus knew she was aware of him. She always was. The jungle changed as they moved. The tall green trees gave way to darker shapes, twisted roots rising from the ground like claws. The air grew thicker, heavy with strange smells. Glowing plants lit the way with faint blue light. Marcus felt as if he was walking into another world. Finally, she stopped. They stood before ancient ruins. The stones were covered in moss, carved with strange alien markings that pulsed faintly with light. The place felt old, older than her tribe, older than the jungle itself. Marcus lowered his weapon slowly, his curiosity stronger than his fear. The woman turned to him. Her eyes burned in the dim light. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, in broken English, she spoke, "You." Human. Her voice was low but sharp. Marcus froze. Shock ran through him. She knew his language, or at least some of it. She was no mindless savage. "I'm Captain Marcus," he said, his voice steady. "Who are you?" She stepped closer, her spear still in her hand. Her lips moved slowly, as if the words were heavy. "Kilira," she said. Her voice carried pride and sorrow in equal measure. Marcus repeated the name softly. "Kilira." She nodded once, then pointed to the ruins around them. "Home," she said, then shook her head. "No more." Her eyes darkened with pain. She lowered her spear and touched the carvings with her hand. Her fingers traced the symbols like she was remembering something lost. Marcus studied her carefully. She was not a savage at all. Her movements, her traps, her skill, all spoke of training, of discipline. "You were a warrior," he whispered. Her head lifted sharply, her eyes flashing. She stepped closer, pointing the spear at his chest. "Exile," she said, her voice full of anger. "Banished, cast out." She thumped the ground with the butt of her weapon, the sound echoing in the ruins. Marcus did not move. He saw the pain in her face, the weight she carried. She was not just surviving here. She was punished. He spoke gently. "Why?" Kilira's jaw tightened. Her voice trembled with fury. "I defy question. Try call me traitor. They hunt me. They hate me." She turned away quickly, her back to him. Marcus saw her shoulders shake, but she refused to let him see more. For the first time, Marcus understood. She was not his enemy. She was fighting her own people. She was alone, hunted, broken, but unyielding. Before he could speak again, the horn echoed once more, closer now. The sound made the ruins tremble. Kilira's body stiffened. She turned to him, her face hard. "They come," she said. Marcus raised his rifle. "Your people." Kilira nodded. Her grip on her spear tightened. "Hunters," she spat. The word was filled with venom. "They kill you. They kill me. No mercy." Marcus felt his heart pound. He had expected wild animals, not organized killers. He looked at her, a woman abandoned by her own kind, and realized his survival was now tied to hers. Kilira stepped closer, her face inches from his, her eyes burned with fierce resolve. "You stay," she said firmly. "You fight." Marcus met her gaze. He saw no madness there, only fire, strength, and the scars of betrayal. He gave a small nod. "I fight." The tension between them hung heavy. The jungle outside the ruins grew silent, as if waiting, as if holding its breath. In that silence, Marcus finally understood the truth. She was not a savage in the trees. She was an exiled warrior, banished by her own kind, and now, both of their lives were tangled together, caught in a fight neither of them could escape. The hunters were coming, and the war of survival was about to begin. The jungle outside the ruins grew heavier with silence. Marcus could almost feel the sound of the hunters approaching before he could hear them. The deep horn call faded, replaced by sharp clicks and whistles that echoed between the trees. It was a language, not of animals, but of soldiers. Kilira moved to the edge of the ruins, her spear gripped tight. Her body was tense but graceful. She crouched low, her eyes scanning the shadows. Her whole posture spoke of training. Marcus realized she had lived like this for years, hunted, never resting. He lifted his rifle, sweat rolling down his back. "How many?" he asked quietly. Kilira did not look at him. Her voice was rough but steady. "For maybe more. They follow always, never stop." She tapped her chest, then pointed at the ground. "They hunt me. They hunt you now." Marcus's heart thudded. He was deep in alien territory, with no backup. No way out. His only chance was this woman who had once been his enemy. A sharp whistle cut through the air, followed by the rustle of leaves. Marcus spun, aiming his rifle, but Kilira grabbed his arm, forcing him to lower it. "Not yet," she whispered, her eyes narrowed. "They test, they wait." The hunters were circling. Marcus could feel it. The shadows moved with purpose. They were driving him and Kilira deeper into the ruins, cutting off their escape. Suddenly, a spear shot out of the trees, smashing into the stone near Marcus's head. He ducked, pulling back against the wall, his heart hammered as he raised his weapon. A figure leapt into the clearing, tall, armored, with a mask carved from bone. The hunter's eyes glowed faintly through the slits, cold and merciless. Kilira hissed, her grip tightening on her weapon. "Tribe," she growled, Her voice was filled with hate. The hunter spoke in a low, clicking tongue, but Marcus didn't need translation. The tone was clear. Mocking, cruel, Kalira answered back. Her voice like steel. Marcus couldn't understand the words, but he saw the fury in her face, the way her jaw clenched, the way her knuckles whitened around her spear. The hunter charged. Kalira met him head-on. Her spear clashed against his blade with a ringing crack. Sparks flew as they pushed against each other. Her movements were fast, precise, filled with strength. Marcus aimed and fired at another shadow that appeared. The pulse blast lit up the jungle, striking the figure and sending him crashing to the ground. The ruins became a battlefield. Two more hunters emerged from the dark, their weapons flashing with light. Marcus ducked, firing again. His shots cut through the mist, but the hunters were fast. Their bodies moved with alien grace, slipping between cover. Kalira fought like a storm. Her spear spun, cutting the air with deadly speed. She leapt, struck, dodged, her body moving with instinct and skill. Marcus watched in awe. She was no savage. She was a warrior trained for battle. Every strike was precise, every step chosen. Still, the hunters pressed harder. They wanted her alive, Marcus realized, but he was expendable, a distraction, a target to bleed. One hunter rushed him, blade raised. Marcus fired, but the weapon clicked empty. Panic surged. He stumbled back, raising his arms. Before the strike could land, Kalira appeared, her spear driving through the hunter's chest. The alien fell with a sharp cry. Kalira pulled her weapon free, blood shining on the blade. She looked at Marcus with burning eyes. "Stay close," she commanded. Her voice was fierce, demanding obedience. He nodded, his chest heaving. He was no longer leading this fight. She was, and for the first time, he felt safer that way. The hunters regrouped, their clicks echoing through the jungle. More shadows moved beyond the ruins. Marcus counted at least 3 left, maybe more. They were not retreating. They were waiting, planning, surrounding. Kalira wiped the blood from her spear, her face hard but calm. "They bring more. They not stop," she said. Her eyes turned to Marcus. "You still fight." Marcus raised his empty rifle, his jaw tight. "I fight," he said. He would not run. Not now. Kalira studied him for a moment, and then, for the first time, a flicker of respect crossed her face. It was brief, but it was there. The jungle fell silent again, but the silence was heavier now. A storm was coming. Marcus and Kalira stood side by side, weapons ready, 2 exiles in different ways, about to face a common enemy. The hunters had not given up. They were only waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. And when they did, Marcus knew the real battle would begin. The ruins were quiet again, but the silence was heavy with tension. Marcus leaned against a broken pillar, his chest rising and falling. His rifle was nearly drained, his hands still shaking from the fight. Kalira stood in the clearing, her spear dripping with blood. Her eyes scanned the shadows, but her breathing was steady, controlled. She was built for survival, for war. Marcus watched her for a long moment. He remembered how he had thought she was just a savage. Now he saw something else, strength, discipline, and pain hidden beneath her hard shell. "You saved me," Marcus said slowly. His voice was low. He wanted her to hear the truth in it. Kalira turned her head slightly, her eyes narrowing. "I save us," she answered. Her words were sharp, but there was no cruelty in them, only fact. Marcus gave a tired laugh. "Fair enough." For a moment, the tension between them eased. A strange connection formed. Not trust, not yet, but something close. Kalira moved to the stone carvings again. Her fingers brushed over the glowing marks. Her face softened with memory. "I was leader," she said. Her voice cracked but did not break. "Warrior, commander, my tribe. Follow me." Until she stopped, her jaw tightening. Marcus stepped closer, careful not to startle her. "Until they cast you out," he finished gently. She nodded once, her eyes glistened, but she did not cry. "I question. I say no. They call me traitor, they banish." She turned to him suddenly, her voice fierce. "Better exile than slave." Marcus felt the weight of her words. He thought of his own people, how humans had fought wars over freedom, over justice. He saw the fire in her eyes, and he respected it. The sound of the hunters faded into the distance, but Marcus knew they would return. He looked at Kilira. If we stay here, they'll kill us. Kilira nodded. We move. I show way. She tapped her spear on the ground. I know jungle, I know path. Marcus tightened his grip on his rifle. Then lead, I'll follow. For the first time, Kilira looked at him differently. Not as prey, not as a burden, but as someone willing to stand beside her. It was small, but it was the start of trust. They moved together into the jungle, Kilira in front, Marcus close behind. She guided him through hidden trails, across roots and rivers, past traps meant for the unworthy. She knew every step, every sound. Her body moved like part of the forest itself. As they walked, Marcus spoke. His voice broke the silence. Why didn't you kill me when you first saw me? Kilira did not answer at once. Her eyes stayed on the path. You are not them, she said finally. You different. Marcus frowned. Different how? She glanced back at him, her gaze sharp. You look, but you do not judge. You fear, but you do not run. You fight. Marcus felt something shift inside him. Her words were simple, but they carried meaning. She had seen humans before, perhaps as enemies, perhaps as strangers, but now she saw him as something else. They reached a small cave hidden beneath thick vines. Inside, the air was cool. Torches carved from alien wood burned with a soft glow. This was Kilira's shelter, her secret refuge. Bones lined the walls. Weapons leaned in the corner. It was not the home of the savage, but the armory of a warrior. Marcus looked around with awe. You've survived here all this time alone. Kilira's face hardened. Alone is better than betrayed. She sat near the fire, sharpening her spear, her hands steady, her voice calm. But her eyes showed the truth, loneliness that had cut deeper than any blade. Marcus lowered himself beside her, his rifle across his knees. You're not alone anymore, he said quietly. Kilira paused. Her eyes flicked to him. For a moment, the firelight reflected something softer in her gaze, a flicker of warmth. Quickly hidden. We see, she said simply. The silence stretched, but it was no longer heavy. It was the silence of two people sharing space, two fighters preparing for what came next. Outside, the jungle whispered with danger. The hunters would not give up. Marcus knew that. Kilira knew that. But for the first time, they faced it together. He thought of her name, Kilira, the exiled warrior, banished by her own people. He thought of his own journey, lost on this alien world. Now their paths had joined, bound by survival, respect, and something that was slowly becoming more. In the dark of the cave, Marcus tightened the strap on his rifle. Kilira tightened her grip on her spear. Two enemies turned allies, waiting for the storm that was certain to come. For the first time, Marcus believed they might survive. Not because of his weapon, not because of his training, but because of her. And for the first time, Kilira allowed herself to believe in someone again. The night fell heavy over the jungle. The air was thick, filled with mist that curled between the trees like restless spirits. Marcus sat near the entrance of the cave, his rifle across his lap. His eyes scanned the darkness, but his thoughts kept drifting. He could not forget Kilira's words. Alone is better than betrayed. Behind him, Kilira crouched by the fire. Her spear rested at her side as she sharpened a jagged blade. Sparks flew with each stroke of stone against metal. Her face glowed in the firelight, sharp and unyielding, but her eyes betrayed a storm inside. She was preparing, not for survival, but for war. Marcus broke the silence. They'll come tonight, won't they? Kilira lifted her gaze slowly. Her voice was low but steady. Yes, hunters follow always. They know where I hide. They wait for dark. Dark makes fear. Marcus gripped his rifle tighter. He felt the weight of her words. Then we don't wait for them. Kilira tilted her head, studying him. For the first time, a small, fierce smile touched her lips. Human fight, she said. Good. The jungle outside grew restless. Strange cries echoed through the night. Branches shook in the distance. Glowing eyes flickered in the mist. Marcus stood, his chest tight. Kilira rose with him, her spear in hand, their shadows stretched together against the cave wall, two figures ready to face death side by side. Then it began. A deep horn call shook the trees. The ground trembled with heavy steps. From the shadows, hunters emerged, 5 this time, armored and armed, their masks carved with bone, their weapons glowing with sharp light. Their eyes locked on Kilira, but their blades pointed at Marcus too. Kilira stepped forward, her body tense but unafraid. She let out a cry, sharp and defiant. The hunters answered with their clicks and whistles, mocking her, surrounding her. Marcus raised his rifle and fired. The blast cut through the mist, striking one hunter in the chest. He fell, smoke rising from his armor. The others roared, rushing in. Kilira leapt into the air, her spear flashing. She struck one across the mask, spinning to drive the blade into another's leg. The hunter howled, collapsing. Her movements were fluid, fast, a storm of fury. Marcus fired again, each shot shaking his arms. He dropped another hunter, but his weapon clicked empty. No more charge left. He cursed under his breath, tossing it aside. He pulled a blade from his belt, preparing for close combat. The hunters pressed harder. 2 of them cornered Marcus, their blades flashing in the firelight. He blocked one strike, the impact jarring his arm. He ducked another, rolling across the ground. Pain shot through his body, but he pushed back, slashing with his knife. His blade cut across armor, but did not pierce deep. Kilira saw his struggle. She cut down her opponent with a powerful strike, then spun. Throwing her spear across the clearing, it struck the hunter behind Marcus, piercing his back. The alien dropped with a guttural cry. Marcus gasped for breath, realizing she had saved him again. But another hunter slammed into Kilira, driving her against the stone wall. Her spear was gone. Her enemy's blade pressed against her throat. Marcus's heart stopped. Without thinking, he charged, tackling the hunter with all his strength. They crashed to the ground. Rolling in the dirt, Marcus stabbed wildly, his knife scraping armor. The hunter roared, knocking him back. Before the killing strike could fall, Kilira grabbed a broken piece of stone and smashed it against the hunter's mask. The alien stumbled. Dazed, she kicked him hard, sending him crashing into the fire. Flames burst, smoke rising. The hunter screamed, then fell silent. The last of the hunters stood across the clearing, larger than the rest, his armor heavier, his weapon glowing with deadly light. He stepped forward slowly, his eyes fixed on Kilira. He spoke in the alien tongue, his voice deep, commanding. Kilira's face hardened. Marcus saw fury and sorrow in her eyes. She answered him with a single word, sharp and final, her body tense for the last fight. The hunter charged. Kilira met him head-on. Their weapons clashed, sparks flying. Marcus grabbed a fallen spear and ran to her side. Together they struck, their movements different but in rhythm. Human and exile, warrior and stranger. The fight was brutal. The hunter's strength was overwhelming. His blade cut across Kilira's arm. Blood spilling. Marcus struck his side, barely slowing him. Kilira spun, driving her spear into his leg. He staggered, but did not fall. Marcus saw his chance. With a roar, he drove the spear deeper, pinning the hunter against the stone wall. Kilira leapt forward, grabbing the jagged blade she had sharpened. With a cry of rage, she plunged it into the hunter's chest. His eyes widened, then went dark. Silence fell, the fire crackled, smoke drifted into the night. The hunters were dead, their bodies scattered across the ruins. Marcus collapsed to his knees, his body shaking with exhaustion. Kilira stood over the fallen leader, her chest rising and falling. Her blood dripped onto the stone, but her eyes burned with victory. She turned to Marcus, her voice rough but strong. "Fight is done for now." Marcus nodded weakly. "We survived." Kilira's gaze softened just slightly. "Together," she said. For the first time, Marcus realized this was not just survival anymore. This was a bond, forged in blood and fire, stronger than fear. But deep inside, he knew the war was not over. The tribe would come again, stronger, and Kilira's exile was far from ending. Still, in that moment, under the burning sky, Marcus and Kilira stood together, not as prey and savage, but as warriors side by side. The ruins were quiet again. The fire burned low, sending thin trails of smoke into the dark sky. Marcus sat against a stone wall, his body heavy with exhaustion. His hands trembled, his wounds ached, but he was alive. Across from him, Kalira stood tall despite her injuries. Her spear rested beside her, her eyes fixed on the night. She looked like a queen of the jungle, proud even in exile. The hunters lay scattered across the ground, their armor broken, their blood staining the earth. The silence that followed the battle felt strange, heavy, but also victorious. Marcus had fought battles before, but never like this, never side by side with someone so fierce, so broken, and yet so unyielding. Kalira finally turned to him. Her voice was rough but steady. They will come again, more, stronger. Marcus nodded slowly. He knew she was right. Her people would not forgive her exile, and now, with him by her side, they had another reason to hunt. Then we don't stay, he said, his voice firm. We move, we find another way. Kalira's eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering across her face. Why? You human, you have ship, you can leave. Why stay with me? Marcus met her gaze, his voice calm but true. Because I don't leave allies behind, and because you're not just a savage hiding in trees. You're a warrior. You deserve more than exile. For a long moment, Kalira said nothing. Her eyes searched his, testing him, judging him. Then she let out a slow breath. Her shoulders lowered slightly. Human words strong, she said, but words not enough. World is cruel. Tribe never forgive. Marcus leaned forward. Then forget your tribe. Come with me. My ship can take us off this world. We can find somewhere new, somewhere you're not hunted. Kalira looked away, her jaw tight. She touched the stone carvings of the ruins. Her fingers lingered on the marks, as if saying goodbye. This place had been her prison, her battlefield, her home. Could she leave it behind? Could she trust him? Memories flashed in her mind. Betrayal. The day her own people turned against her. The pain of exile. The years of loneliness. And now, this human who should have been prey stood beside her, fighting, bleeding, refusing to run. He saw her not as a savage, not as a traitor, but as something more. She turned back to him, her voice low but firm. If I go, I fight with you. I am not weak. I am not slave. Marcus smiled faintly. I wouldn't want it any other way. The fire crackled between them. Outside, the jungle whispered with danger. But for the first time, Kalira did not feel alone. For the first time, Marcus felt he had found more than survival. He had found an ally, maybe even a friend. They prepared through the night, gathering weapons, salvaging what they could from the fallen hunters. Marcus patched his wounds as best he could, while Kalira wrapped her arm tightly, refusing to show pain. When dawn broke, the mist lifted slowly from the jungle. The light painted the ruins in shades of gold. Kalira stood at the edge, her spear in hand, her eyes on the horizon. Marcus walked to her side, his rifle strapped to his back. "Are you ready?" he asked. Kalira's lips curved into the faintest smile, sharp and dangerous. "I was born ready," she answered. Together, they stepped into the jungle, not as strangers, not as hunter and prey, but as warriors bound by survival and respect. Their path was uncertain, filled with danger, but it was theirs to walk. As they moved, Marcus glanced at her. "You know where I come from? Exile doesn't have to mean the end. It can mean the start of something new." Kalira looked at him, her eyes fierce but softer now. "Then this exile is freedom," she said. The jungle closed behind them, hiding the ruins, hiding the bodies, hiding the past. Ahead lay only the unknown, a new path waiting to be written. And so the human and the exiled warrior walked together, not as enemies, but as allies, their story only beginning.